Hey quilters, how are you today? This is Mary Ann Fontana, and I am working on another Quilts of Valor pattern that I think you're going to love. It looks really difficult, but it's really, really easy. It's called Round-A-Bout. Now, it's straight rows across, even though it looks crooked, it's straight rows across. There are large squares. These are 8-inch finished squares, and you have 8-inch squares with applique stars, and then you have a half square triangle block. One half is a stripe and the other half is a solid half square triangle, and we did sew our stripes together, and it's very easy. So it's called Round-A-Bout, and it's a very clever layout, and you just flip the stripes this way and that way to get them to make this pattern. We will be making two different types of half square triangle blocks. One will have a red tip in the corner, and the second one will have a white tip in the corner. And that's how we get the stripes to match up when we sew them together. First thing you will need to do is take your 1.5-inch strips and sew them together in sets of 6. You will have 3 red and 3 white, and you will sew across the width of fabric. So these will be 1-inch finished, 1.5-inch cut. Once the pieces are sewn into the strips, you will press them all in one direction, and in this case, let's press them all towards the bottom red stripe. To cut the strips, either use an AccuQuilt 8-inch setting triangle die or cut it manually. I'll show you both ways. To put it on the die, place the strips over the larger of the 2 triangles. Do not use this one. We're going to ignore it. Match up the ends. Make sure you line it up with where the cutting blades are because you want to catch it. It's just about the correct size. And get as close as you can to the end, smooth it out, and put your mat and cut. Ignore this. When you get to the next one, they'll all be cut, so just line them up. Manually cut it. Take your ruler, 45-degree angle, lay it along the edge of the fabric, and get as close as you can to the end without going over, and then just simply cut. And you will line the 45-degree line up again with the edge of the fabric, this time staying as close to the point as you can, and cut again. And so you will have one white point strip, and you'll just keep going, go back and forth. This is what will look like once you cut your blocks. Now, I did use the AccuQuilt cutter, and you will be able to get 6 triangles from each with a fabric strip. You will get 3 with a red point and 3 with a white point. When you make your strip sets, your red and white strip sets, you will need to make 7 strip sets in order to be able to cut enough triangles. We'll also need the same number of navy blue 8-inch finished half square triangles. I will again use the same method as I did for the strips to cut them. I will either use my 8-inch setting triangles from AccuQuilt, or I will manually cut these. And if you are manually cutting them, you will have to cut your squares at 8 7/8 inches and then cut them across diagonally, and you will need 42 total. Sew together 1 striped triangle and 1 navy blue triangle. You make 22 with a red corner. Make 20 with a white corner. Chain piece all of the navy blue half square triangles to the striped ones, both the red and the white tip. That's 42 in total. Let's go back and look at our pattern. It's comprised of 8-inch squares. You're going to cut 14 8.5-inch blue squares, and then we're going to talk about the applique in a minute. And then you have all your stripe blocks, which we just finished. We'll cut 15 white 4-inch stars. I will have a little template in the pattern that you can use to cut your stars out with. Every single one of the blocks that you make in the blue will get a star. The very end here, where you're putting this striped block with the white tip and this striped block with the white tip together, there's a seam. You're going to place the last star. That's the 15th star. And I have used a double adhesive fusible. I pressed it to the back of the star. This is the fabric. There's fuse on it. All I have to do is peel it apart like this, press the shiny side down, hot dry iron, and it will adhere. And then I'm going to go blanket stitch it. I changed to a walking foot, and I set my machine to a blanket stitch, and I've set it at 3.0 by 3.0. So I'm just going to go ahead now. When I get to this, I'm actually going to, if you haven't lucky enough to have a knee lift, you can just kind of use your knee to turn the fabric each time. And then I'll put my needle down. Can you see that? I'm putting it down there in the corner so I can pivot. Take a stitch, put it down, pivot. You always want the needle to be on the outside of the applique when you pivot. And when you get to the end, you'll turn, back tack, and then cut it off. Here's our star. And you will do 14 squares with the stars, and you will have the 1 star left over. One more look at the quilt, and then we're going to go on to the design wall and put it together. You should have your solid blue blocks with the stars, 14. You'll have 1 white star left over. You should have 20, I believe it is, of the squares with the white corner. Can you see it? There you go, with the white corner. And you should have 22 squares with the red corner. So I've started putting the rows together, and I've done 2 rows, and there's 6 across, as I've said. Now I'm going to detail it to you on the design board in a minute, but I just wanted to see how the stripes go together, and the key is that red point and the white point, because when you turn them up and down like this, they match, which is really kind of cool. In the pattern, there are assembly diagrams, and it explains whether you're using the red corner or the white corner and the rows. But I thought I made these little cutouts, and I always think they're good to look at, and so you can see how I actually put it together. So I'm going to, let's see if you can keep this here, so you can kind of see it and follow along with me. I'm going to do a red corner and then another red corner, both pointing in. Star, white, red, and star. Row 2 starts with a red, and then a white. And you notice how the stripe, it makes the stripe where the corners meet, so you get a continuous line. And we did a white, and I'm going to do another white. And you can do this too at home. If you have a color printer, you can just print them out and cut them up if you want. I'm doing it because it's too big to put up on the design board, so sometimes it's, you know, hard to see it all and to do it correctly. Anyway, so, and then we're going to do another white. And then that should be, let's see, which way am I going? I'm doing a red. Down. And let's just do the white in the corner here since I'm here. And they got a little star. That's where I am. Red is going in. And you see how the stripes are made? Red, white, red, red. And the white goes in the corner. Red points down, down, down. And if you notice, we're going to make a bullseye here. So I could actually just put those there. This is kind of how I do it. So now we're here. The white one goes at the end. Finish that piece off. And another white one comes down this way to start a new one. We get our blue stripe now. Okay, so on row 4, we have the 2 reds. We need a white. Put the white which on there. There we go. This way, white. Red pointed in. See? Right? White. Yeah, then the red, which I did. A star. And there you have it. All your rows. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 across, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 down. A few last tips. When you're sewing the stripes together, if you really want them to match perfectly, you have to make sure the seams are going in opposite directions. Now, we did speak about pressing initially when we did the strips before we cut them to the red. You know, we pressed them all down, so they were white, red, white, red, white, red, but we're pressing to the red. So they're all going in one direction. Don't be afraid to flip the seams so that you could kiss them together to get a perfect match. So those stripes will be continuous and not jiggy-jaggy. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I do sell the pattern. It is available on Etsy at Fontana Originals. That's my shop. It's $8. And 20% of the proceeds of every single Quilts of Valor pattern I sell is donated back to Quilts of Valor annually. Please, if you can, buy a pattern, make a quilt, give it to a veteran. And if you can't, if you do see a veteran, thank him or her for their service. Thanks for watching and happy quilting.